It's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical. Joined today by Will, Chief Justice. Hey, man, 5-game NBA slate. Lots to talk about. Lots of body parts. Lots of fake injuries. Lots of players ruled out. Some of them we're still monitoring. A pile that are questionable. A lot of questionable motivation in the NBA. Lots of teams have already basically secured their spots. 1 through 5 is already locked in as far as the Eastern Conference. The West is where it's really wide open as far as like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll talk about that. Some of those games, some of those teams on this slate, I think they are. Maybe not. I'm misspeaking, right? None of those teams are on this slate. 10. Okay, Sid, sure. And Phoenix is, 3, I believe. Just getting news before the show as far as Denver ruling out some players. There's still some guys that are questionable. I'm not really sure why we're doing a half measures thing for Denver, but we'll see how that goes down. Again, they're locked into the one spot. If you missed it, the Joker, he's been ruled out. Jamal Murray's been ruled out and still up in the air as far as Denver. The other 3 starters, KCP is questionable, MPJ, Michael Porter Jr., and Aaron Gordon. Phoenix, on the other side of the game, for what it's worth, they're locked in their spot, nothing to play for. It's the front end of a back-to-back. They're playing the Lakers tomorrow night, so I think there's a chance. We're going to get something goofy from Phoenix, if not tonight, tomorrow. That makes sense to me. I don't know why they would play their players full throttle back-to-back when they're already locked in their spot. Outside of, you want to make the argument of building chemistry with Durant. I suppose that has some value, but risk versus reward. Will, how are you? 5-gamer. It feels like it's more because there's so many pieces, moving pieces that we're going to talk about. We just got an update, by the way, as far as our lineup HQ stuff with the Magic in Cleveland. We'll talk about that game. Poor Magic fans. The last game of the year, Will, and this is their last home game in Orlando, and they're not seeing anybody. Cleveland's ruled out their best 6 players. They're also locked in their spot. And Orlando countered by ruling out, Banchero, Rookie of the Year. Couple other guys were just ruled out. Wendell Carter was ruled out. I believe there's somebody else. There's a Gary Harris fan out there somewhere. It's really sad. He's not playing basketball tonight. Franz Wagner. You do get Mo. Mo's still available. You do have one Wagner in play. And then Markelle Fultz ruled out as well. So, basically, so few starters this Cleveland versus Orlando game. It's going to be nuts.
But Cole Anthony, though, we'll get to that. But, this is, I can't think of a better time to get some Cole Anthony shares, which we'll cover. But they're ruling guys out, but that's going to open it up for, these other players. Same thing with Cleveland. All their best guys are out. Hopefully we see these guys popping here. We already know this is going to happen every year, Dean. Especially on Sunday. Sunday, it's going to be really bad.
I'm not looking forward to Sunday. I don't think I'm playing Sunday. I'm not doing any content, so I think I might just relax and watch baseball. I don't know what your plan is.
So listen, I remember, I don't know if this was last year or the year before, but it's probably every year, Dean. I literally build lineups that have 8,000 left on the table, 2,000, 3,000. It's no need because you already know the bench guys are going to score the ball. It's actually kind of fun, but nerve-wracking because there are some teams that still need to win. So you might get a star there, here or there. But most of the time, that last game, man, it's ugly.
The weird thing as far as the screenshot, as far as the overview on this slate, one of the things I find interesting is, we have all the money in the world to spend up on some studs, right? The best stud right now, if you look at our, points projection, is Joel Embiid. He's actually projected to score 6 more points than everybody else. It's only a 5-game slate. No Joker, no Giannis, no Luka, right? They're not on this slate. But Embiid, what is his motivation? He's been dealing with whatever injury he's been dealing with as far as his leg. The MVP is probably locked up. However you feel about that, it's probably his. Probably doesn't have to do anything. He can just sit the rest of the season if he wanted to. They're locked in their spot. Is Embiid going to play 40 minutes in a meaningless game versus Miami where he's been dealing with, kind of laboring? I don't know why he would, but he might. I wouldn't be shocked if he sits. That feels like it's possible. SGA, if you assume that OKC is going for that 10 spot and they're well positioned for it if they want it, a game versus Utah, that's an awesome big spend. Same argument for James Harden with Embiid. He's been dealing with an injury too, to some degree. I assume he's fine if he plays, but just a little bit of caution on those Philly guys. Like, I feel like those minutes are a little more fragile than they typically are. Like, if Embiid played 25 minutes tonight, it wouldn't shock me. And then we get weird stuff like THT, raw points, is the fourth highest guy projected as far as raw points. Ahead of Booker, just barely. Ahead of Butler, just barely. And ahead of Durant. And that's the other thing, is that I think we might get some goofy stuff potentially out of Phoenix. If not tonight, tomorrow. Who knows when that's going to happen? It's 10 o'clock as far as the game. I think they're going to counter Denver. But my thought process here, Will, is like, we have all this value, but I don't know how much. We don't have like great studs you feel amazing about. I feel good about Jimmy Butler, and I don't really care about the price because the Heat are motivated still. Like, the chances of them jumping up to the 6 is not great. I think it's like a 3 or 4% chance, but they believe like they still can get there and knock out Brooklyn. Butler's played 35, 37 minutes the last 2 games. It's the number one matchup as far as defense versus archetype, shooting wings versus Philadelphia, and Philadelphia probably going to be without some bodies. They have 3 guys currently questionable. Like, how we, you think stars scrubs, right? But this isn't really a stars heavy slate is the point I'm getting at.
Yeah.
They're not there.
Right. No, I'm with you, Dean. And so I think the thing is, this is the time of year where the standings probably matter more than your lineups, like initially, and you could just kind of build lineups. So for instance, last night we were on the show, we're talking, and I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the Bucks, and I'm saying, okay, I looked at their schedule. I said, all right, they've got a home game Friday. I think they're away on Sunday playing Toronto. I said they probably play their guys tonight and Friday, and Sunday they don't play anybody. Well, they were playing the Bulls. The Bulls is typically a competitive matchup. They sit Giannis. Chris Middleton gets ruled out in the first half, and they still beat
like 10 minutes.
Yeah, they beat the Bulls anyway. But my point is, I don't see any reason to play any Bucks the rest of the season. Not the main guy. So my point is, if you kind of know where the standard, they're 3 games ahead of the Celtics. So there's no way the Celtics can catch them now. Like, they can lose both games and they're fine. So there's no reason for the Bucks to run out any of their main guys at this point. So that's the kind of stuff I'm looking at. I'm looking at the 76ers. They're 2.5 games back from the Celtics. So theoretically,
no, they're locked in. They're locked in the 3.
No. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying they're 2.5 back. So theoretically, they aren't going to catch them at all. Not theoretically. Actually, they're not going to catch them. Sorry,
no, they can't. Yeah. It's 1 through 5 is locked. Yeah. No worries.
Yeah. So the 76ers have no reason to play their guys. The Cavs aren't playing their guys. The Knicks didn't play their guys last night. The Nets are coming up, I think, tomorrow, and they're probably going to sit. Like, I wouldn't be playing Mikal Bridges and Dinwiddie and all those guys. So the Heat, I mean, maybe they play their guys some, but all in all, I don't see any reason to be invested. My bigger point here that I elaborated so much on, I hope I didn't just talk everybody's ear off, and if I did, I'm super sorry. My bigger point is,
we got time.
Yeah, there's no need for Embiid, Harris, Harden. I wouldn't roster them tonight, even if they're going to start. There's no need.
But my counterpoint is, who do we roster? The counterpoint is, who do we roster? Which is just so weird.
From Orlando, we roster the cheap guys from Cleveland. We roster some of the cheap guys from Portland who are going to play. And by cheap, I mean mostly mid-range now, because all the prices caught up because they're playing heavy minutes. We probably can roster a couple guys from the Jazz. I wouldn't roster anyone from the Suns tonight. Like, you could probably roster Reggie Jackson or Bruce Brown, maybe. But that's the thing. Like, this is we've done this every year since DFS has started. It's not changing. We roster these odd. We
typically have like 2 or 3. We typically have like, okay, here's 2 or 3 big spends we feel comfortable about, and it's super, super easy to get them in. And you kind of rotate through all like the cheap guys, the value stuff. And we don't really have the 2 or 3 really comfortable guys. You can poke holes in all of them, basically. By the way, if you go to playoffstatus.com, right, it'll show you can kind of go in the conference stuff and the percent chance that each team has as far as getting a certain number. Like we said, 1 through 5 is already locked in. According to playoffstatus.com, the Nets are 99% chance to get the 6. Miami has a 1%, 1% chance of getting that, a 97% chance to get the 7. But, like, do they still believe they can move up there? Or I guess it's possible. They need some luck as far as Brooklyn losing. I don't know. It's a hard guess. And Butler's right there, and you can pay for him really easy if you want him. It's not very hard to do. And you mentioned Denver. Like, Denver's just being – I was going to curse there. They're being jerks because, like, why are you giving the update on 2 of the guys, but the other 3 guys, nothing? Like, we're pretending like the rest of the injury report is clean. It's not. And it's a 10 o'clock game. They gave us Murray and they gave us Jokic, 2 big pieces, right? But their other 3 starters are all still questionable. And it's a 10 o'clock game. When do we get that news? I don't know. It's and like that's the thing. What if you're locking up like so many spots and all of a sudden everything opens up in Denver? And I don't even know if it's like is there one player for Denver? If say we get all the starters out for Denver, like we have Murray out, we have Jokic out. What if KCP, Porter, and Gordon all get the hook as well? We're looking at Reggie Jackson, maybe Christian Brown, Bruce Brown. I don't know. Nothing you feel great about, but those guys will probably get a bunch of run. And that's the other thing is the Phoenix side. Do they just play their guys? Why would they? And are they saving their guys for the Lakers tomorrow? Which game do they prioritize? Because Phoenix also locked in. The Utah OKC game looks pretty safe. I don't care what THT's price is. Like, I'm going to play him like because I have the money and I feel like his minutes are more secure than most players. And that's that. And same thing with SGA. Even Giddey, right? Or Williams. Just given like the screenshot as far as the slate, it's an interesting one. And like you said, I feel like this is one where you certainly leave some salary. And you mentioned the Blazers. I feel like there's a better than a 50% chance that Shaedon Sharpe doesn't play tonight for Portland. They want to lose this game, actively lose this game. And it's tough. You got to bring your A game when you're playing the Spurs if you want to lose. But I think they will. The Blazers have done a fabulous job of losing outside of beating Minnesota by, when they were 20-point dogs, which is outrageous. But we can see like a 6 or 7 man rotation out of Portland tonight without Shaedon Sharpe. And if he plays, he's spectacular. But we saw the other night in a close game, they had to give him the hook. He was playing too good. They said, get this guy out of here. We got to lose. And he didn't close. So like Skylar Mays at 6'4" could be a good play, which is just outrageous. But that's the world we live in right now, right? Anything else here before we kind of do the game-by-game deal? This is sort of the screenshot. Anything else that's worth pointing out? We'll obviously, dig into the games individually and go into, deeper with that. But anything else we should mention, or shall we just go game by game?
Game by game is good.
All right. I'm doing a refresh on the lineup HQ, the most recent update as far as our projections. Let's see. We got it about 20, 30 minutes ago. Ownership will be updated soon. That's 3:30. So the ownership stuff is not going to be correct right now. And surely they'll do their best to keep refreshing that because the news flow will be coming in. But we do have the update as far as Cleveland and Orlando projections, and I think Denver as well. But again, Denver, we're still waiting on 3 starters. We'll see how that goes down. And that is the hammer game on this slate. Running some optimals, I feel pretty confident we're going to get. The problem with optimals right now, Will, is we're getting Denver guys that are all questionable, right? So how do you handle that? And maybe the news comes in before OKC Utah, and you have like more switching and swapping options. Maybe it doesn't, but you got to be on top of things, obviously, with this lineups tonight. But anything else? Yeah, so let's move on. We'll figure it out. We'll discuss the slate. The very first game, Will, it's a doozy in Orlando. Orlando just hold my beard, the Cavs for sure. Actually, the Cavs really, they checkmated them, and Orlando's doing the best they can. They are keeping a couple players that are actually competent. Cavs are without their top 5-6 players. They're locked into their spot. No Mitchell. I like how they gave him a finger. They gave Garland a leg. They gave Allen a groin. LeVert got a knee. Okoro has a knee too. But they actually gave Mobley rest. They didn't give him a body part. No body part for Evan Mobley. Just resting him. His brother might get some run tonight. And Orlando is countering with Banchero not playing. No Wendell Carter, no Fultz, no Franz Wagner, no Gary Harris. So we're expecting Ricky Rubio to start. Wouldn't shock me if Howell Neto draws a start. They might want to keep those minutes down on Rubio. He's certainly more important for their playoff chances. Probably don't push Rubio too hard, but we'll see. I'll throw it to you. How many players do we want to lock in at 7 o'clock is the other question, because there's certainly some good value plays here. And then raw points also matter a ton as well. But where do you want to start? You want to start in the Cleveland side?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good place, because when you look at Cleveland, I think we actually have a pretty good idea of how they're going to handle this game tonight. And I don't think we have to play everyone, but I think the idea is that my guess is Ricky Rubio plays less than 30 minutes. That's my guess, right? And we've got him at 27 minutes to be exact. That's my guess. My guess is Jetty Osman. I know we've got him at 32. My guess is Jetty Osman plays closer to 35. Dean Wade probably plays, closer to 35. Robin Lopez probably plays maybe close to 30. I'm not saying it's like, 32-ish, but I think Robin Lopez plays more than 23 minutes for what it's worth. And then we just kind of go from there. Nato gets in, Merrill gets in. Like Danny Green probably won't play a ton. You get what I'm saying though? Like that's how I think this game goes. So I like Jetty Osman is probably the best play, and Rubio even at 27 minutes. And I think ownership reflects that for FanDuel and DraftKings as well. I think, you see those are the top two guys. And on DraftKings, with both of those guys being, bottom of the barrel 3K, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't get involved with those guys. And then now that we've got Orlando on the other side with guys ruled out as well, I think this game has the makings of a really good launching pad for your slate tonight, because we do expect these guys to play with so many guys out.
Ian, you're muted.
Oh my God, that frightened me.
I thought something was wrong with me, because I've got my different headphones in, and I'm like, I was pulling up the settings, like, hey, what's happening? And lo and behold, Dean, of all people, has muted his microphone, and so he has to repeat that whole soliloquy back to us again. Dean, we're going to rewind, and action.
Take two. We're doing it live. Are we doing this live? Oh, we're doing it live, unfortunately. The Magic actually are starting a little bit different as far as their lineup subs. We have that. We did have Caleb Houston draw on the start. Bull. By God. Is that Bull's music? He's an interesting player when he gets some run. Okiki and Mo Wagner. So we had Gogo Batase and Admiral Schofield. I assume they're going to get some run. We'll adjust that in a second. Well, I don't know when. Next 15, 20 minutes or so. I'm sure the projection team will be on top of that. It is interesting. I ran some optimals, right? And again, 3 Denver players are landing in it. Porter Jr., Gordon, both questionable. That's in the very first one. 3 guys hit my threshold, Will, as far as, I capped it. I don't want any more than 72% of a certain player. I don't want to hit like a lock button on anybody. And Ricky Rubio's 1, Jetty Osman's 2. I think Jetty's probably the best dollar for dollar play on this slate. You kind of focused on him as far as Cleveland. Jalen Suggs, by the way, the other guy hitting the optimal. Something really interesting as far as this Cleveland lineup, again, with all their studs being out, all their shooters being out, you look at the usage of the players that are left. And usage is, of course, the amount of times, the percent of time that the possession, your offensive possession ends with this player taking a shot at the free throw line or turning the ball over. It's a quick way of saying how involved they are as far in the offense, as far as shooting. It's not like an assist thing, not a rebound thing, but just as far as actually shooting or ball handling to some degree. Nobody has a usage as far as who's left higher than 18%. 18% is Jetty Osman. And that's when he's playing alongside a lot of players that are like 24, 25, 26, Mitchell, those kind of guys too. But like, again, if you divide it up, there's 5 guys. If it's everything was equal, if it was a baseball lineup, they're all getting 20%. somebody's got to rise up, right? You can't, these guys all can't have a usage of 17, 16, 14%. Rolo at 15%, Lamar Stevens at 13, Howell Neto at 12, Rubio at 17. It's not possible. Somebody's got to have, a 27% usage tonight.
Well,
I think the most likely guy, well, just math. That's just how math works. It just has to happen that way. And I think the most likely guy is Jenny Osman. And he's my favorite value play on the slates. I don't think I want to lock in more than 2 Cavs in one lineup just because how things can open up. Let's see. Rubio, and I don't know if I want to play Rubio and Howell Neto in the same lineup. I'm not sure if I want to do that. I guess they'll cross over to some degree. There are 5 bodies on the bench. What is our minutes projection on those? There's a total over 48 as far as Neto and Rubio. I'm curious if we have some crossover minutes with those two. We have 27 to Rubio, and we're giving 23 to Neto. I wonder how much they played together this year. I'm going to check that in the old Court IQ. People talking about Rolo in the chat. He's not played more than 19 minutes all season long. He hasn't. We also haven't seen this situation all season long. And, I think he's capable of playing 24. I don't know if I need it. I don't know how much I want that. But we got to project him for 23 for what it's worth. And it is a revenge game, right? Remember, Robin Lopez, I'm pretty sure he signed with Orlando several years back because he loves Disney World. I think it's the reason why him and his brother, they're big Disney fans. They like theme parks. They're big comic book guys. For real. I think that's the reason why.
No, I know.
Prioritize the Cleveland guys for me.
My gosh. So hold on. Can we talk about this really quick, Dean?
Yeah.
That Orlando lineup is out, and it's very, very interesting. Would you like me to read this off to you? Or
I just did. I said it 3 minutes. I said it when I was muted, and then I said it again when I was unmuted. So I said it twice. You should have heard it at once. But feel free to address it.
Listen. I've gotten D twice with this now, and back-to-back shows. I needed that laugh. You guys have no idea how much.
Are you burning me? You're just trolling me now.
Oh gosh, yes. Listen, I got D with this the last show. I can't remember what the player was, but I was like, hey, what do we do with this? And Dean's like, oh, I just talked. I'm like, yeah, I know, because Dean does that to us ever so often.
I do it on purpose too. Whenever I do it, I would never do that by accident.
Oh, listen, this might become a thing. And the funny thing is, Dean never knows when it's going to come, so I might have to skip 2 or 3 shows so he can possibly forget about this. Go ahead and drop a 7 in the chat. That's actually pretty fantastic, Dean. I've been able to get you like this twice. I think the first time I got you twice with something like this, I pretended to be muted, or I pretended my mic was cutting out or something. You were like, it sounds like Will's having some technical difficulties, and I, in fact, was not. Dean, I needed that laugh. This has made my day. Thank you. Talking about Cleveland, which is what we're actually.
By the way, I had a chance to run the Court IQ and just put Rubio and Neto on the court at the same time, and I'm curious how much they've played together. Now, again, this scenario is very, very specific. They don't have a lot of options, but they've only played 6 minutes together the entire season, for what it's worth, Rubio and Howell Neto. So I don't know how much they cross over, probably a little bit. I know we have them totaling just over, 50 minutes or so combined. We'll see. But I don't think when there's so much value, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to play those guys together. I might make a rule. But continue. Go ahead as far as Cleveland.
Yeah, no, what I was saying is I'm with you. I think Osman is the best play from Cleveland for sure. Definitely the guy that I feel like should be taking the most shots here. Now, how many is he going to make? I don't know, Dean. But he should essentially be taking more shots than anyone. And so for that reason, specifically, I like him a ton.
Orlando does have a guy named Jay Scrub, which it's unfortunate to be the 13th guy on an Orlando bench. Your name is Scrub. There are worse things. I'm sure he's living his best life, but there are probably better names to have. Homer Bailey as a pitcher is never good either, right? If you're kind of the bad names for your profession. But there is a dude named Scrub on the Orlando side. Let's talk about the Magic, and I'm curious if we have adjusted the minutes. Bull seems interesting. I bet he's minimum salary. I haven't considered him, but he probably gets a fair bit of run. He's fun when he gets loose and they let him do things. He is 3K. Now, the other part of it is like, how much does what does his salary actually matter? What can we do with that? Because again, there's only so many big spends that are out there. But to me, Bull seems really interesting at 3K. We got TJ in chat. TJ will be on later with Andre, taking you guys home in crunch time. I believe around 6:15 or so. Roth should be hosting that. Yeah. What do you think of the Magic side? And, Bull looks kind of sort of somewhat interesting as a 3K cheapie. But Suggs at 4K, I think looks even better. Different position, obviously. They have Bull as a power forward / center. He's been like in every position this year, I feel like, on DK.
Yeah.
But talk to me about the Magic.
I like the Magic. Like, once again, Dean, when they've got this kind of lineup starting, Cole Anthony not starting actually really shocked me. So it seems like they're just going to keep him, in his sixth man role. Which, yeah. I mean, even tonight, I don't think it will matter. He should still be able to put up tons of fantasy points. But it does give me interest in Jalen Suggs. Maybe a little bit of Chuma Okeke as well. Like, I don't feel like Chuma Okeke is going to be a guy they try to maybe hold back. I feel like he's going to play his, 30-plus minutes or around 30 minutes. But clearly, I think Suggs, Wagner, this whole team, because they're so cheap, Dean, I think we get exposure to all of them. And in terms of in lineup HQ, I think what you do with Orlando, I would probably take Suggs, Wagner, and maybe Cole Anthony. I'd probably put those in the group. I think those are the higher upside guys. And I'd say, hey, play at least two of these out of the three, out of this group. Do you get what I'm saying? So I'd either have Cole and Suggs or Cole and Wagner or Wagner, Suggs.
I wouldn't force two, personally. I think there's too much value in the slate. If you want to say one, at least one, okay. I'm not forcing two.
Well, here's what. No, but I'm saying because they're not going to be in every lineup, Dean. We're not going to have them in every lineup.
You said two in every lineup. You said two of those Magic players in every lineup, right?
I'm sorry, Dean. I'm not expressing myself very well today. So just please.
Are you trolling me again, or I don't know what's going on?
No, I'm not trolling. I'm not putting my sentences together very well. So I'm really sorry, folks. What I mean is, if Cole Anthony is in a lineup, then I want one of Suggs or Wagner in there. So not necessarily every lineup, but whatever lineups they're in, I want at least two out of that three in those particular lineups. It's really what I meant to say. So I don't think I said that fluently. So sorry about that. And then I'd group, let's say, Okeke, Bull, and the other guys. And I'd say, okay, out of this group, I want one out of the three, not two. You get what I'm saying? So I'm willing to play two of what I feel like are the primary guys, Anthony, Suggs, or Wagner, because I feel like they have the most upside. Out of Bull, Chuma Okeke, and the gang, I only want one of those out of any lineups that they're in.
I would go see that band perform, Chuma Okeke and the gang. I don't know. That sounds like they play some good music. Yeah, but by the way, Bull, as I was talking about, we do have a refresh as far as our lineup HQ and our projections. He is now popping. I just ran a bunch of optimals on Fanduel. Right now, Bull is landing in, oh boy, I think I got to run this again. Where did I see him? Well, let's run the Fanduel one again. Maybe it's on DK where I saw him popping. Let's try that one more time. My apologies. I'm just building up suspense. 43% of my lineups on DK, Bull. And the thing is, traditionally, if you get that 20 points out of a 3K guy, that's usable. For me, that is not usable. I need more than 20 points. I need at least 25, possibly 30. We're giving him a 28-point projection right now on DK. Mo Wagner getting a 70% landing spot as far as my projections, drawing the start. Suggs at 72%. Again, I don't know if I want three Magic players, but maybe I do. We'll see. I'm probably going to try to keep it at 2-2 because, again, of how good this slate is. And at some point, I want to spend salary on players that can put up 50 or 60 fantasy points. As far as our actual projections, let's note this. Spending a lot of time in this game, but this is a really important game. Obviously, there's 20 dudes out. We're giving Suggs 32 minutes, about 35 fantasy points. Let's see. Bull, 26 minutes for Bull, and just 26 minutes, and that's seems reasonable, right? Drawing the start, 26 minutes, like 28 fantasy points at 3K. I like Bull. I think he's very much in play. Scrub is getting 12 points, like whatever. I'm not going to play Schofield. I'm not going to play. Okiki is another guy at stone minimum 3K, giving him 26 minutes. So we're not really pushing the minutes hard, right? It's interesting the minute delegation we're throwing out for the Magic. The only guy in the 30s is Suggs at 32, and everybody else is mid 20s.
I think that's close. I mean, I think that's probably the right call. Especially with now Cole Anthony, I do think could get up to around 27 minutes coming off the bench. But they really know who all these guys are, Dean. Like Cole Anthony's been there, Suggs has been there. Bobo just got there, but Wagner's been like a lot of these guys have been there. Chuma Okeke, he's been there. So a lot of these guys have been in the organization. Jonathan Isaac's still hanging around, getting paid and not playing at all. And prayers up for him. He just can't stay on.
I think he's hurt, healthy. Right?
No, that's what I'm saying. He just can't stay healthy. So he's been around. I think this is a spot. Once again, they just try to get all these guys quality minutes for a game.
Question in chat: Am I crazy for loving Gogo Batadze? Coming off the bench, like what? He's a good fantasy point minute player. He averages over 1.13 or something like that as far as fantasy points per minute. Again, you got to kind of tell that story, and he can get there in like 20 minutes. Are we giving him 20 minutes? We're giving him exactly 20 minutes. He's fun. I wouldn't say I love Gogo Batadze. If I was running out 100 lineups, would he get in 3 or 4? Maybe, right? But it's fragile. And again, you got to be really good on this slate as a cheapie because there's a lot of cheapies that are going to pop up. Is it possible? Sure, but I feel better about Bull. I feel a little bit better about Okeke. He's also center and center only on DK. By the way, Bull, center and center only on Fanduel, still hitting, 52% of our optimals right now at a 28-point projection. I like Bull today. And we're only giving him 26 minutes, which feels like we're not overshooting it, even though he's starting. Which he probably doesn't play 30, 35, but he could. It's possible. Wouldn't shock me. I don't think he will, though. Anything else we should say as far as this game? Because a lot of goodness here, a lot of cheapies. I feel like you got to get something here. I feel like you can't X this one out and just move on to 7:30.
I do think, Dean, in terms of this slate, so, and I know we've spent a lot of time on this game, folks. I mean, it feels like we've been talking about it since we opened up. But if you look at the slate, right, this game has a lot of the value. I don't know, I don't want to say I don't know, but I don't feel like the Philly-Miami game is super exciting. And Shannon just put in there. So why exactly are Embiid and Harden playing tonight? Shannon, I want to talk about that. I've got a theory about it. Then you've got Portland, San Antonio, which they have. This is going to be an up and down game. They have interesting pieces, but they're way more expensive than the guys in the other game. You've got Oklahoma City and Utah, where it's a similar situation where the Jazz have already started tanking. OKC probably should be taking, but they could possibly get in. And then you've got the Nuggets who've already set 2 of their best players. So that's the thing about this slate where, believe it or not, the 7 o'clock game is probably the most important game on the slate in terms of decisions. And so if hopefully, Dean, I said that eloquently enough to inform our listeners as to why we've spent probably 20 plus minutes on this game. But I think it's very important. This is the game of the slate to me, in my opinion, in terms of building lineups.
Yeah, this is one of the more important ones. I think OKC, Utah, which I think are the safer big spends on this slate, right? SGA, THT, it's like 8K, but like whatever. I have the salary for it. Yeah, I'm really, really curious. I have not made any lineups. What was the point of making lineups a half hour ago? You knew nonsense was going to happen. Anything else as far as Cleveland, Orlando, or shall we move on and talk about the Heat versus Philadelphia?
Let's do it. Heat, Philadelphia. I like it.
Yeah, so 219.5 is a total. Philadelphia is a 3-point favorite here. And like you said, Philadelphia, they're locked into their spot. They're in the 3 as far as Eastern Conference. They're not moving up. They're not moving down. Also worth noting as far as resting guys, like they're going to be getting a bunch of rest, not a bunch, but the play-in nonsense has to happen. So if you're in the 1 through 6, you're already chilling for like 5-6 days or something like that until it settles and we figure out who the 7-8 are. You get kind of a week off, right? But so it's a weird question. Embiid is not on the injury report for the record. He probably plays. I don't think they push him like as far as like giving him 37, 38, 39 minutes. But if you tell me I'm getting 34 minutes out of Embiid, and I will pay it because I have the money to pay it. And just as raw points of like 55 raw points out of Embiid could be useful tonight. Even if it's like not a good math play, right? Technically with salary, but the way things go, raw points are going to matter. Just kind of the way we're seeing things. Tyrese Maxey is questionable. Melton is questionable. Tucker is questionable. And I lean on those guys just being out.
Oh, man, sit Embiid and Harden. Well, no, don't sit them. Play them for like the first half.
And we don't want that. Why do we want half measures? I let them play 20 minutes each? What's the point of that?
Because I took their under fantasy points.
Well, now you have all
no. So let's say it this way. Embiid can get 50 fantasy points tonight. Would you be okay with that? You probably would.
It could be useful. It could be useful. Yeah. Like paying $12K for 50 fantasy points could be useful in this slate.
Yeah. So let's get 50 fantasy points for Embiid. Let's get 40 for James Harden, and they can stop. If they stop right there, Dean, I'm perfectly fine with them playing.
Yeah. This is, by the way, so if you want to make the argument for why Embiid's going to play, it's a TNT game, right? And I know Doc Rivers has already declared the MVP is over, and it probably is.
It's probably especially if Jokic's not playing tonight, especially.
It's probably, unless like you think Giannis is going to sneak in the back door, but it's probably over. It's probably Embiid's, and he wants it, right? And he probably doesn't want to sit on a national TV game, and like that's going to be part of the story. And again, you shouldn't decide like if you're an MVP voter, who's sitting this one game? Okay, because I think it was one of the talking heads said something to the effect of like, oh yeah, when Embiid sat, like, well now my vote is going to be swinging the other way. It's like that's the pendulum. That's what you're deciding on based on who's playing one game. Whatever. I'm getting in the weeds of that nonsense, but I think he maybe plays on national TV on TNT. Now, last time he made a statement on TV versus Boston and dropped the 50 burger, right? And that was when he locked it up. He can just walk off, but I don't know. We'll see. And again, he's not on the injury report, so he probably plays. How many minutes he plays, I don't know. Miami on the other side, if they believe like they have a chance to take the 6th spot, which again, mathematically they do, it's like a 1 or 2% chance. Producer Steve, cue the Jim Carrey gif if you don't mind. So you're telling me there's a chance. Jimmy Butler, like again, he's kind of expensive, but he's played 35, 37 minutes last 2 games. He's worked really hard as far as in the offense against Detroit, and I can't remember who else it was. Someone else not very good, I believe, but he's not going to like not try. Butler, he's going to yell at other people that aren't trying. And again, I don't care how good of a math play it is. I care about raw points because I'm going to have the money to overspend on some of these high price tag players. Bam, officially probable, by the way. He was upgraded to probable. That's Bam Adebayo. He's dealing with a quad. Kyle Lowry's got a knee. He's questionable, not a big deal. And I guess we'll kind of deal with the Philadelphia if-then stuff. But if Maxey and Melton and Tucker all sit, theoretically some stuff gets pushed up. But again, motivation, like are they really going to play James Harden like 38 minutes? Could he get the job done in 32? Sure. Will, you want to finish your thoughts as far as Philly, or you want to jump over to Miami?
Let's talk about Miami because I think Miami could possibly be in a more interesting spot, although I don't think they're going to get the 6th seed. I don't think that your Miami Heat, I just don't think they get their Dean.
No, unlikely.
Yeah, when you look at the Heat, so they're playing Philly tonight. Then they've got the Wizards and they've got the Magic. Now, they could win all 3 of these games. It's definitely possible. The problem is Brooklyn gets Philly at home on Sunday or whenever their last game of the season, and they get Orlando next. I don't think Brooklyn's going to lose either of these last 2 games, and I think they're going to try to win them to fend off Miami. So my point is, even if Miami wins tonight, Brooklyn is still going to stay ahead of them. And so I just don't see I think the only reason Miami continues to win or wants to win is maybe to get a home play-in game, because if they lose and the Hawks pass and the Hawks get the home play-in game, but that's my philosophy on how this whole thing breaks down. I think the Nets win these last 2 games, so Miami's still going to be stuck in the 7th seed, even if they win. And if they lose, they're in the 8th seed and they have to go to Atlanta. I think. Is that how it's going to be? Yeah, I think they'll have to go to Atlanta for the game, and then the Bulls would have to go to the Raptors if the season ended today.
I think 9 plays 10, and the winner of 9 versus 10 plays
the winner of
8?
7 versus 8.
Yeah. 7 versus 8 is in, and the loser of 7 versus 8 plays the winner of 9 versus 10.
Yeah,
I think that's how it works.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if the Heat drop to 8, then they have to go to Atlanta for their play-in.
Sure.
So they don't get the home court play-in, so to speak. So that's. I mean, I think that's some incentive to not have to leave home. You can sit at home and play in your own arena. And then the Hawks will get, if they stay in the 8th seed, the winner of the Raptors versus Bulls. And as crazy as this sounds, Dean, I think the Eastern Conference play-in is going to end up being pretty interesting, along with the Western Conference. Excuse me, my God, playing again, where you've got all these teams that are kind of jockeying for position still. So this is going to be an interesting finish last 2 or 3 games.
All right, ownership-wise, we did get a refresh, by the way, 10 minutes ago, so this is a pretty good batch, I imagine. DK.
Can I mention something, one more thing?
Go for it.
Ryan brought up something. This is something we were talking about in the prop shop. Ryan said Philly also doesn't want to play Miami round 1. Beating them tonight solidifies that, and Nets get 6th seed. Well, I think the Nets are solidified regardless. Philly could lose this game tonight and Miami could win. Miami would be 43-37. They'd be one game or one. Yeah, they'd be a game or a half game behind the Nets. The Nets are going to win these last 2 games because Philly's not going to play them. Philly's not going to play their guys against the Nets the last game. And I also don't think Brooklyn's going to lose to Orlando the next game. So I get it. Like, in theory, absolutely. Go ahead and win this game tonight, and Miami's probably relegated. But even if they don't win tonight, I don't think Brooklyn's going to lose. Philly's definitely going to sit and allow Brooklyn to win this last game regardless. So that's just something we talked about in the prop.
It's inevitable, you're saying. No matter what happens tonight, that seems likely. That seems like the most likely scenario. I agree with that thought process.
Yeah.
Ownership, by the way. In chat, Jawan's giving the business. He's saying there's more people sitting out tonight than likes. And that could be there's 150 likes and still it's a close call. A lot of people are sitting out. But yeah, kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Do all the things. Let us know that we're doing an okay job. Let us keep the lights on. Let us keep Crunch Time free, which, again, Crunch Time's coming in about a half hour. You got TJ. You have Andre. You got Roth as well hosting that, taking you guys straight up to lock whatever news breaks. They will dive into that. Possibly we get some more Denver news. We'll see. Might get some Portland news, some San Antonio news that also can break at some point in the we already have tip-off as far as the 7 o'clock games. Do get your RotoGrinders app. Get the notifications. Turn those on so you know who's in and who's out there. So our refreshed ownership on DK as far as this game, Philadelphia versus Miami, 27% is going to Embiid. And, it's not an incredible projection. It's fine. 56 points at 11.5K. Typically, that doesn't really jump off the page. But again, raw points-wise, I believe he's got the highest raw points projection on the slate by a good bit. Butler also getting 24%. And again, not a spectacular projection. It's fine. Harden, 24%. Hero at 20%. Bam at 14%. Otherwise, nobody getting anything. That may change if those Philadelphia guys happen to get ruled out. As far as Fanduel, are we paying up for Embiid on Fanduel? I don't think 22%. Yeah, we talked about Bull getting, landing in a bunch of optimals. What is his ownership, Bull on Fanduel? Let's see. It's 24%. Okay, so you can spend all the way down or spend all the way up. Outside of Bull and the rest of the players here, as far as Miami, Philadelphia on Fanduel, anybody popping? Harden's getting 30%, Butler 24%, Embiid 21%, Hero 20 at 15%, Maxey at 14, but again, stay tuned as far as Maxey. He is currently questionable. Anything else here that's worth pointing out? Do you want to mention Hero? I think he's fine. He's in the pool, but I'm not gravitating to it. I'm not going to besmirch it. Anything else? Same thing with Bam. I'm fine with Bam, but I don't think it's something I'm prioritizing. But if it fits my builds and I have money, and I'm sure I'll have money, I'm okay with it. You got anything else as far as Miami and Philly?
No, I'm not really. I'm not really putting too much stock into this game. Look, I'm going with my theory here that I don't think Philly pushes harder in Embiid. Like they could play 30 minutes, but you get what I'm saying? Like maybe they play a somewhat of a normal rotation in the first half, and then maybe in the second half they just kind of tail them off and get them down to 28 minutes, 30 minutes. Like I don't see it, so I'm going to take the stance that if they do play, like if you think Embiid can get you, in my mind, I think you're playing Embiid tonight for more mid-40s fantasy points than upper 50s. If that makes any sense, like that's my logic. That's how I want to approach it. So typically in lineup HQ, I'm bumping Embiid up to give him more fantasy points. Tonight, I'm actually going to bump him down and just say, hey, he gets, I'll bump him down around 47, 48 fantasy points. And if he still gets in there, I'll take it. But all in all, I don't want to play some of the upper tier guys in this game. Miami, I think everybody's kind of set, even though there's a slim chance Miami could. I don't even think there's a slim chance they could sneak in, because like I said, Philly's going to lose the last game of the season to Brooklyn on purpose. So I don't see it.
And Miami might not push things unless they have a chance to win here. They're a prideful organization, like how Miami is. That's the Miami way. They sort of think they're tougher than everybody. I'll work everybody, so maybe they wouldn't pull the plug, but maybe they would if this game's ugly. They have to know. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Speaking of which, there's a podcast called The Pivot. If you guys haven't heard of that podcast, it's just a sports podcast. It's got nothing to do with DFS. Ryan Clark's on there. Fred Taylor. They did Channing. They actually did an interview with Udonis Haslem. So if you type in The Pivot podcast, Udonis Haslem, check that out. It's a long one, but I think it's a really good podcast if you want to just kind of get an idea about who Udonis Haslem is, how his career's progressed. I mean, he's been with that organization for a while, why he's still there, the impact he makes on the community, the organization.
They love him in Miami. They love Udonis in Miami.
It's a real good podcast. So check that out if you're into that sort of thing. It's got nothing to do with DFS. It's not going to help you take down any tournaments, but it's a good listen. The Pivot podcast, for sure. Check it out.
One of the best undrafted players all time in the NBA. Udonis Haslem.
No, seriously, absolutely. He talked about the undrafted process and how that's impacted him and how he's been able to help others. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, I think he was overweight coming out of Florida, if I remember correctly, as well.
He was like around 270, 260, 270. Yeah, somewhere up in there for sure.
Yeah, and he also signed on the cheap, and now Miami's kind of paying it back. So many years ago when he was like a useful rotation player, he stayed in Miami and could have made a lot more money elsewhere. All right, let's move on.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Well, I'll give you this last tidbit because this slate's fine. We've got Portland, OKC, and then the Nuggets game left. Like, trust me, guys, we're good. We can do that in 30 minutes. One interesting tidbit that I will give you that I don't want to spoil it. It's not a spoiler, but he thought he was going to leave Miami. He thought he was possibly headed to Dallas when the Big Three were formed, and Dwayne Wade talked to LeBron and Chris Bosh and said, "Hey, listen, we need Udonis Haslem here. So I need you guys to take a little bit less money, right? Not a lot, but they both took slightly less money, or all three of them, I think, took slightly less money, maybe $1.5 million here, $1.5 million there, to make up so they could get Udonis Haslem to a number that was reasonable enough for him to stay in the organization. And so I thought that was something really classy that those guys did for a guy that had been there and worked through the trenches. So, but yeah, check out the podcast. It was a really good listen to. One of the best ones I've heard, I think, from them. And I've listened to them talk to Michael Irvin, Charles Barkley, Shaq, People that don't play basketball as well, like they talk to anybody. Kevin Hart, it's a real good podcast. Check it out.
All right. By the way, we did get the Cleveland starting lineup, and I thought a little bit. I wasn't certain Rubio would start, but he is starting, so feel a little better about his. I thought there's a chance they might start Holland. That they'll just kind of keep Rubio's minutes down a little bit because he is, an important player, role player for them in the playoffs. And he's also old and coming off a variety of injuries, obviously. But that's good to see. I don't think they're going to push him too hard, but I think his minutes are pretty solidified now. Rubio, Jetty Osman, Stevens, Wade, and the aforementioned Rollo or Robin Lopez. All right, this next game is this is a disaster. Portland, San Antonio, 227.5 is the total. Portland, 4 or 5 point dog here. The Spurs, your team is terrible. The Spurs are 5-point favorites against you. I don't want to run down every Blazer that's not in, but it's all the guys. And then Shaedon Sharpe is also questionable, and I really think there's a legit chance he doesn't play. They want to lose this game. He would help them. He would help them win to some degree here. So I can see, and I think he's a really good play if he plays like 35 minutes. We've seen him play 40 minutes in a blowout, but I don't think San Antonio blows him out. Therefore, I think that pushes his minutes down if he even goes. We do have an if-then or a what-if set up for if Sharpe is out. If Sharpe is out, we're projecting Skylar Mays to play 35 minutes and get almost 39 DK points, 36 Fanduel. So he looks like a really, really strong player. And then Shaq Harrison is projected for 34 minutes. 36 fantasy points. And again, these guys, especially Harrison, right? He's 4'2". Mays is 6'4". You have this. This is just this kind of stuff open things up. We don't know when we're going to get the news as far as Sharpe. He certainly could play. If he doesn't, Mays and Harrison spike. Eubanks looks really good. 38 DK points projected currently, or projected if Sharpe is out. He's fine as is. And then, the other players, I don't know how much you need them. Williams and Walker. There's just so many other players in line ahead of him. If you want to get a pinch in tournaments, by all means, go for it. Walker and Williams. Your thoughts as far as the Blazers before we talk about the Spurs?
I think both sides of this game are going to be fine. But if you're looking on FanDuel, Skylar Mays is $6K now, so you definitely have to pay for it. It's probably still going to be worth it. I would think. If you're looking on DK, he's 6,400. If Shaedon, as long as Shaedon Sharpe is out, it's probably still worth it. I'm going to be just fine rolling those guys out there. On the Spurs side, where they've got this interesting collection, I was hoping maybe they sat one of these centers tonight. They've been kind of sitting Zach Collins, and then Sandro starts, and then Sandro comes back, and they kind of been sitting guys. I was hoping the Spurs would maybe sit more guys tonight so we could get a little bit more clarity. Like maybe just don't play Keldon Johnson tonight. Don't play Trey Jones. And then we could get, some of these other guys in. But even still, with what they've got on the bench, like Gorgie Jang isn't really going to play. Romeo Langford may get a few minutes. But all in all, I think we know, what the Spurs are planning on doing. Malachi Branham's going to play. KBD is going to play. I want Keldon to sit, to be honest. Just get out of the way so we can. If
he plays, he's really interesting, actually, especially on DK where he's 6'5".
Yeah.
They've been the fastest paced team, by the way, the last 10 games for what it's worth. I think Keldon's only played, I want to say, one game in the last 5 or so. I was checking this out earlier. So you want him out of the way, and then what? Who do you want to play? I think Jones is really interesting.
It's not that I want to play someone else. I want him out of the way so Jones, Branham, KBD, and Collins can hit more fantasy points. Do you get what I'm saying? Just go sit down so those 4 guys can do what they need to do, and I can still play some of the value on the other side. We've got Derek in the chat here saying never Keldon. And in fact, Derek, I just wasn't playing Spurs at all until the end of the season. Now that a lot of these guys are out. So Dean, I think this is a good question. I'm going to post this one to you. I know you're hosting, but we've got – I want to read this name out because this is fantastic. Steve, if you could just find us a GIF after I read this name. We've got Mr. Rad Dad Fanny Pack in the chat with a fantastic question here. And he's saying, am I nuts to fade the first game? Now, I'm buying Steve some time because I'm sure Steve is going to get us a sensational fanny pack GIF. Steve, you just a producer's choice. It's all on you. Dean, what do you think about this? Rad Dad fanny pack. Am I nuts to fade the first game?
I like how he spelled it with a Z too. I appreciate that.
Incredible.
I'm not going to say you're nuts, but I'm not. I'm definitely playing. Yeah, I mean, look, the Cavs are going to score. It's just like a math. They're going to score 100 points, right? And probably more than that. What are they projected to score? 105, right? And they have 10 bodies, but like that includes Danny Green and Sam Merrill and Evan Mobley's brother, Diakite. Like it's just a math thing. Like somebody has to come out of it and look at the prices, right? Rubio's 3.1K, Jetty Osman's 3.4, Stevens is 3.7, Dean Wade is 3.8, Rolo's 3K. Like somebody has to come out. They're not all going to get like exactly 24 fantasy points and all that kind of be like fadeable, right? I think fading Jetty Osman is a really dangerous game personally, which is a weird sentence to say, but that's kind of where we're at. And that's not even talking about the other side. One of Bull or Suggs, possibly Anthony, possibly Okiki. I'm not fading that game. I would not do that. I think it's a bad idea. There you go. I don't see any reason to do that. San Antonio, what's to say about the Spurs? You kind of touched on them. I think Trey Jones is very much in play. I like a little bit more. If Keldon doesn't go, probably plays about 30 minutes or so. They still have, depending on like 10 bodies. I don't, with Collins back, Mamakelashvili is probably not worth a look for me, but Canny, you want to tell yourself a story? Sure. But San Antonio generally, what Pop's going to do is going to play all his guys like 26 minutes, right? Maybe 28 or 30 for the best players. If Keldon goes, he might play 30. Jones plays about 30, but everybody else somewhere in the mid-20s and making most of them not necessarily, all that useful. That's kind of where I'm at. If Keldon doesn't go, it opens things up a little bit. I feel better about Jones, but I don't know if I'm all of a sudden going to play like a bunch of Champagne. Maybe, probably not. But I have nothing else as far as this game. It's kind of a mess. Both teams, you might see some really weird rotations. Both teams are happy to take the L. I think Portland's going to outplay them and lose this game. I think they're going to be I think Sharp sits, but we'll see. But it's a lot of speculation. I got nothing else as far as this game.
Yeah, I need Mr. Sharp to sit too because I've got Skylar Mays on Prize Picks over or more than his projection.
I love it. I don't know what the number is, and I love it because I was trying to find it earlier. Yeah, did it just come up? Was he just available?
It came up within the past hour. It's 30.5, and I'm going more than the projection because I am expecting Shaedon Sharp to sit as well. They only have 2 projections up for Portland right now, which is Drew Eubanks at 29.5 fantasy score. That's the Prize Picks projection. And we've got Skylar Mays at a 30.5 fantasy score Prize Picks projection. And if you are using the RotoGrinders extension, if you have RG Premium, you can get our fantasy point projections overlaid over the Prize Picks fantasy point projection. And nice I am taking more. Yeah, I am taking more. We've got Drew Eubanks projected for 33.93 fantasy points. We do have Skylar Mays projected for 28.46. But once again, I'm leaning with the fact that I don't think Sharp plays. So I'm taking that now because what's going to happen is once Sharp gets ruled out, the Prize Picks projections are going to get pulled. They will put it back up, and he'll probably be at 32.5, 33.5. So I think I'm getting a little bit more value right now by taking advantage of that. And then also, I'm hoping Keldon sits. I did a stack of that game with all Prize Picks fantasy point projections. So I took Malachi Branham, Eubanks, Collins, Mays, Jones, Keita Bates. I took all of those. It's 6 of them, and I did all more than their fantasy point projection, even though all of ours aren't lining up. If it's a fast-paced, no defense competitive game, I feel like all of these guys should score more than their Prize Picks projection.
All right, 2 more games to go. By the way, we do have an if-then for if Keldon doesn't go. The best DK value play is Zach Collins. I don't know how much he's even affected, but just as is, he's the best DK value. Then it's Jones. Champagne is like a break-even value. It is a revenge game, pointed out there in chat for Zach Collins. I totally forgot about that. Jamie in chat, Embiid over for rebounds today. I'm staying away. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable about it because they have nothing to play for outside of like him just showcasing one last time on national TV. But his minutes might get subdued, and I just, for me, it's a stay away. I don't want to mess with it. We'll talk about the Suns in a second. The Suns, I suspect, will either sit some guys tonight or tomorrow. We shall see. We don't know. But let's move on. Let's talk about probably one of the best games on the slate here, OKC and Utah. OKC theoretically trying for that 10 spot there in the Western Conference. 239.5 is the total. Yes, Bam Adebayo officially in. Kyle Lowry officially in as well. Thank you for that, Mr. Richard. 240 total. Big boy total, OKC and Utah. Utah 7-point dogs here. Lou Dort officially questionable for the OKC side. Obviously, Utah has been dinged for a while. No Markkanen, no Clarkson, no Sexton, no Gay, no Kessler. That's why it's the THT show, possibly some Kelly Olynyk as well, maybe some Chris Dunn off the bench. But SGA, assuming there's nothing goofy here, he feels like one of the best big spends on the slate, and you have the money, and I'm going to have a fair bit of SGA because, like, why wouldn't you here in this matchup? Talking about Gilgeous-Alexander as well as the rest of the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they want to win this game, if they want to get in, it does feel like SGA is most likely the best big spend. They should win this game, but they are on the road in Utah, a little bit of elevation, so maybe it tapers or hampers them a bit in the first half. When you compare it to some of the other studs like Booker and Durant and Joel Embiid, I think SGA is probably the best play today. So I think we take it. If nothing else, SGA should score more than 30 points here, which gives us a shot at upper 40s fantasy points. So I think SGA is probably the best spin or big spin on the slate. And I think we're seeing that as a reflection in ownership because right now we've got him on FanDuel projected at 36%. And then if you're looking at DraftKings, we've got him projected around 17, which is more than both KD, Devin Booker, and then we do have Embiid around 24. So he's right under Embiid in terms of ownership on DraftKings, which makes it that much exciting for me. But he is a lot more. He has more ownership than Embiid on FanDuel, and a lot of that's because of lineup construction. You got to have two guards and be center only. So there you have it.
All right, let's check our projections here. Pulling it up. THT on DK is getting 30%. SGA 28%. Frankly, I think that's too low on both those guys. Olynyk at 18%. Giddey, I'm fine with Giddey as well. 15%. Dunn off the bench, I presume, at 14%, giving him 26 minutes. Love Jalen Williams. He's getting 15% as well. Certainly somebody that would put in my pool. And on the FanDuel side, SGA getting 36%. THT 34%. 8.4K THT getting 34%. Yeah, that's happening. Giddey getting 22 as far as ownership. Williams 18%. Kelly O getting 20%. This feels like a really good stack game. Utah's, they have really nothing to play for at this point. But I think they're going to finish. I mean, I think the minutes for THT are pretty secure. I think the minutes for Kelly O are pretty secure. And I feel pretty good about SGA and the other guys on the OKC side. So what this slate is, you can poke holes in a lot of stuff. We talk about Philadelphia. We'll talk about Phoenix in a second. And maybe we get some more value in Denver. But that's our last game. Is there anything else here as far as OKC and Utah, or shall we knock out the last game? If you guys have questions in chat, by all means, fire them off. Why didn't you talk about so-and-so? Tell us who we're wrong about. Tell us who we're right about. Crunch Time crew, you got Andre and you have TJ as well as Roth coming in about 10 minutes or so. They will tell you their favorite plays. They're going to give their favorite plays position by position. If you're a psycho and still playing cash games at this point in the season, they'll tell you their favorite cash game plays as well as favorite tournament pivots for GPPs. Taking y'all straight up the lock. Will, anything else here? We're talking about the hammer game that is Denver and Phoenix.
Yeah, Denver, Phoenix. I don't like this game, Dean. No. I don't want to play a single person from this game. Especially not on the Phoenix side. So here's how I'm thinking this game goes, Dean. And I'm playing with a little bit more imagination. Vegas is also siding, I think, with the way my imagination is flowing here, we've got Phoenix at -12. It feels as if Phoenix should take care of business in this game, and even if they don't, Dean, what are we doing here? They're pretty much entrenched into the 4 spot. I don't see the So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't see any reason for Phoenix to push these guys. So I'm saying that even if they play in the first half, play a little bit in the third quarter, like let Cameron Payne and the gang run around and play a little bit, or some of the other guys that don't get a whole lot of run, not Landry Shamet, Jock Landale, and these guys, just let them play. Most of the second half, take care of business in the first half, and I think we'll be good. So I'm not interested in this game with Phoenix. Maybe Reggie Jackson's okay, maybe at 4,800, but I don't want to play the Reggie Jackson experiment when we've got all this other value that I feel like is better with guys that are going to play 30 minutes for sure. Reggie Jackson could easily play 25 minutes, and then they could just sit him and say, "Hey, man, we're good. No big deal."
They have other guys too. They have Bruce Brown. They have Ish Smith. The other thing I did not introduce the game. The game jumped from a 7-point line, right? Phoenix, they were 7-point favorites. Now, just going on scores and odds, I believe, 12-point favorites. 222.5. For what it's worth, this is the
Dean,
back
are you
half
trolling? Are you trolling by chance?
No, of course not. Why would I be trolling?
I literally just said they were 12-point favorites. I think D's trying to return the favor, folks.
It was a slow burn, but we got there. So it's a TNT game. It's the back half of the TNT doubleheader. So TNT is begging for Phoenix to play, I would imagine. They're also would be thrilled if some of these Denver starters actually play, because currently we have 2 already ruled out, and the other 3 are questionable. No Joker, no Murray. Gordon's got a shoulder, so he's questionable. Porter Jr. is questionable. KCP is questionable. Again, we would have Bruce Brown probably jumping in the starting lineup. He might start as is. Right now, we're projecting it to be Arjax, KCP, Porter, Gordon, and Jeff Green. I don't think I'm messing with any like the Jeff Green or Zeke Naji or Concur or DeAndre Jordan or Thomas Bryant. None of that nonsense for me. Christian Brown, maybe, but probably not. We have an if-then. Like, we have like a what if all the Denver starters are out. Yeah, and our biggest projection, our best play would be Bruce Brown getting 36 DK points. Now, that's assuming all 5 starters are out. So I think Brown's playable. Ish Smith getting, but what is his ceiling? Like 25 fantasy points? Not playing Ish Smith. I don't care if he's 3K. It's just still not that great, which is the interesting thing. But the tricky thing is like right now, Porter Jr. and Gordon look pretty good, right? We don't know if they're playing, but like if they do play and it's a standard game, however you want to call it, their usage is, they're going to go up. They're going to take more shots, grab a few more minutes if this game is close. But again, Denver and Phoenix, what is their motivation outside of looking good on national TV? They're both locked into their spots. Denver's locked into 1, and Phoenix is locked into 4. And as we've talked about, and several people in chat are talking about, this is the front half of a back-to-back for Phoenix. Tomorrow night, they get the Lakers. Do they want to roll down for the Lakers? Do they want to make it easy for the Lakers to get into 6? If you're Phoenix, I feel like you probably think this game, like maybe roll down a little bit here. And again, this is all pure speculation, and I don't know. But if I'm Phoenix, I feel like I want to beat the Lakers and make life a little bit more difficult for them. Make them, play in as a 7, assuming you beat them tomorrow. But that's just you can't assume that. But and you should be able to beat this wounded Denver team, which might be without every starter. I don't know, man. It's a lot of speculation and it's a lot of if-then stuff, and that's what leads us to like Durant and Booker, who could be great if they played 35 minutes in this game. I don't know what to do here, and I guess that's why you have more than one lineup, right? But I would just say have a plan, have a path, and like make sure you play the what-ifs out on your specific lineups. Like, well, what if everybody's ruled out for Denver? What if we lose Durant and Chris Paul? Like, Chris Paul's not playing back-to-back games right now. Like, why would he? I wouldn't think so. I think it'd be a terrible decision. We have seen in the past, though, Phoenix, I believe the same coach, where he played his guys basically down the stretch every single game, even though they were locked in the 1 or the 2 a couple years ago. Remember this? I feel like this happened. So maybe they both play. Maybe they play both games, and it's a lot of maybes. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm hoping that. So I've got 2 different things going on here. I've got DFS lineups that you have to build, and then you've got fantasy props or pick'em that I'm also involved in. And so from a pick'em perspective, Dean, I'm on the unders for Phoenix. I'm on the unders for Philly because I don't feel like they have real incentive to get pushed. And I do feel like they play. So let me clear that up. I think they're going to play. I don't see the incentive in them getting pushed, Dean. And so whether they're up or down in this game, Kevin Durant's been hurt most of this season. Why in the world would you run him out here for 40 minutes tonight, 38 minutes, 35 minutes even, knowing
the argument is continuity. Not to cut you off, but like the argument would be continuity. Durant is not a player. He's not played a ton with Booker and Paul and like the main pieces. And you want to build some sort of chemistry. That's the counterpoint.
No. I get it. But what I'm saying is if they're up by 30 points, okay, that's probably a little bit of an exaggeration. They're up by 20 points at the end of the third quarter, and Durant's played 28, 29 minutes. I don't see the real incentive in running him back out there in the fourth, whether they win or lose, for him to kind of get hurt. And the other argument for me is, certain players in all sports, you need you need reps. I felt the same way when LeBron and Chris Bosh first went to Miami. I felt the same way when Kevin Durant went to Golden State. And so I do get the continuity piece, but I'm saying if the game's out of hand, you don't want to see a freak injury on Kevin Durant, who's already gotten hurt in layup line. That's basically what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, there's nothing I've seen out there that suggests or says that Phoenix is resting their guys tonight. I'm not trying to spread my paranoia, but if there was a draft right now, if we were drafting players that are not in the injury report, that are most likely not to play tonight, I think the 1-1 is maybe Embiid, maybe somebody on Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Those are first round draft picks. I'm not saying it's going to hit, but most likely to. Is this all I'm getting at? But again, have a plan, because maybe you don't get Phoenix news until 9:01, and then you could be screwed. Hopefully, Phoenix and Denver news will come out before at least 9, so you have the OKC Utah game to work with. Maybe you get it before 8, probably not. I don't know, but it's you got, if you're playing tonight, man, you better play. You got to be committed. You got to be on top of stuff. You got to have the RG alerts, good to go as far as like who's in and who's out. Otherwise, you're just donating, because that's what it's like at this point in the season. Question in chat: raw points, Butler and Trey Jones versus Bam and Jalen Williams. Ooh, I like the first pairing personally. Butler and Jones versus Jalen and Bam, and I love Jalen Williams. I like Bam too. Yeah. What do you think here? Feel free to chime in.
It's probably Butler and Trey Jones, because I think Butler's going to outscore Bam, and Trey Jones and Jalen Williams are a toss-up, but they're probably closer to equal, especially if Keldon sits. So I think Butler and Trey is the best pairing.
All right, we should be getting the crunch time guys in here in just a few minutes or so. If there's any more questions, Michael's asking about, did we discuss the Rubio situation? Is he starting and bowing out, or do we think he's getting real run? I think he's getting, what's real run? I think we're projecting for about 27, 28 minutes or so. So we're not projecting to get full-fledged starters minutes. And that is a peculiar, again, I thought he might come off the bench to kind of push his minutes down a little bit. What's our minutes projection on Rubio? What would you put it at, Will? What would you guess? 26, 27?
It was 27. 28? I think it was 27. I would roll with that.
I think that's too high.
What, Andre, you think is this kind of just like we're going to start him and he's going to kind of disappear and it's going to be the Hall Neto show?
Why are you going to run him out there? He's a part of, he plays a part of the rotation, and they got to get ready for the playoffs. Just run him out there for maybe 15. In the last couple of games, he's only played 11, 12 minutes. So just run him out there for 15 minutes and let Neto handle the rest.
Yeah. I mean, that can certainly happen. Yeah, that's a good answer, and we don't know. I said this earlier. I think you should play one of. Don't play any more. Don't play both. Is the point I was saying before. Neto and Rubio make a grouping where you max it at one. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I like it a lot. There's a lot of point guards though that's on the slate that are really good. That's the problem. And
no, I'm not saying you have to get one. Like not one and one only. Yeah, no more than one.
Yeah, no one of those two. Yes, definitely. I would make that rule instantly. That's that's automatic rule for me.
Are they trying, Andre? Are they trying to get the 6th spot tonight? Although there's like no shot, basically mathematically, they're trying. I think, right?
It's still possible. We just have to have Brooklyn lose. So if Brooklyn can lose, we can slide in there and get that 6th spot. So we're gonna give
y'all not getting the 6th spot, Dre.
Why not?
They're 1.5 games behind, and Brooklyn isn't about to lose either of these last 2 games.
They about to the Brooklyn Nets play. They play.
Brooklyn plays Orlando, and then they play Philly the last game, and you know Philly's not playing anybody the last game of the season. The Heat are stuck, brother. I'm telling you.
They want to screw the Heat over if they have a chance. If it comes down.
Listen, don't be that hopeful fan that thinks the Cowboys are going to win every year, even when they're like 1-15. Oh, we're still got a chance. We're the NFC East. We just got to win 2 games and get to 3-12. No, it's not happening, brother. They're in the play-in. Deal with it. They're going to have a home playing game.
Yeah,
most likely.
And then we're going to beat Atlanta, and then we're going to give Boston a lot of problems, so we can beat Boston. I think, but realistically, Philly probably is going to be that way because Philly does not want to play Miami because Miami can give them a lot of problems in the first round, and they can potentially lose that series.
That's what I've been trying to tell everybody all day.
Yeah,
even if Philly loses, they're still not going to play Miami for what it's worth.
Anything else here, Will, or shall we yield to crunch time? We kind of
no, man. Let's hand this thing off to Roth. I don't want to get on his nerves.
Yeah, I'm.
Is your neck okay, Roth? I see you doing some neck.
He was getting on my nerves. I was just loosening up,
I got a neck guy. Slide into my DMs. All right. Well, myself and Will, we do appreciate you watching the first portion. TJ, we'll make
Dean,
sure
I'm not about to let you run it back to make it the same type of show as it was this morning. No sliding into anyone. No one slide into Dean's DMs.
That was on Blender, for the record. I mean, I was guilty by association, but I think if we're going to delegate out blame, I think it was mostly Blender's a bad influence. I don't want to name names or anything.
That's confirmed. Yeah, I watched the show. That's confirmed.
Thanks for supporting the show, Rob.
Yeah.
All right. Myself and Will, we appreciate y'all watching. We're going to hand it off to the Fanduel sponsored Crunch Time. It's starting now. Rob, take it away.
Let's do it. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed Crunch Time. And it is sponsored by Fanduel. That is the reason this show is free. I know you're thinking, how is that possible? Best content in the biz. Well, it's thanks to Fanduel, and all we ask is that you hit the little thumbs up button right there by the YouTube to keep it free for as long as humanly possible. It's also the show where we're joined by 2 of the sharpest minds. Oh, yeah. There we go. Kool-Aid man busting through the wall. We're joined by 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, Mr. TJ Zwarych. Got it. Yeah, it just took me 3 tries. I got it. What's up, TJ? How you feeling, man? Good to see you again.
Doing well. Back-to-back days with back-to-back shows with you, Roth. It's nice to see Dre for the first time, and it feels like a couple weeks. So looking forward to I hadn't been playing much NBA here late in the season, but I played last night. I'm playing again today. So looking forward to making some money.
Let me tell you, last night I was on this show, and you and I forget who else was on the show. Keith literally just said, these are the dudes, and just listed every single guy you should play. I was an idiot and did not play. I was like, I want to do something different. So I made a poor choice in one lineup spot, and I still cashed, but I scrolled up to the top. Who won the GPPs? It was literally the exact dudes you said, play for play. So excellent work, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a pretty good night. The only one that didn't really go well was on FanDuel saying to play Chris Middleton. Obviously, he got hurt and didn't come back into the game. So can't control that one. That happens. But other than that, it went pretty well.
Yeah, really, really was good stuff. And to walk us through some tournament takes for tonight, we got Drizzy Dre in the house. What up?
What's going on? Feels like haven't been here for a long time. I miss it, but glad to be back and ready to give some plays out.
You've been ducking us. It gets to the end of NBA season. You're like, I don't know about all these random ass plays, but you feel good. You got a good grasp of things here.
Yeah, I think I got a good grasp of things. Only going to play certain situations tonight, so look forward to hopefully explaining to people that get it through their minds, play these type of situations, unless you want to lose and not win.
No, that's good because that's what I need. Like, I don't know what the situations are as far as who wants to win, who wants to play, who's trying to lose, who's going to give everybody 17 minutes so no one gets there. So I certainly need a little help in that department. I mentioned that this show is sponsored by the one and only Fanduel. And if you were not aware, you can sign up for the Fanduel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Massachusetts because in Massachusetts, you get bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets. Make sure you're checking that out over on our sponsor site, FanDuel. TJ, let's kind of talk about this slate. Just kind of give me an overview, and then we'll dive into a little FanDuel cash build, sir.
Sounds good. So on this small 5-game slate, we have 2 of these games that really we're going to want to focus on more than any of the others. So first off, Cleveland and Orlando. Cleveland is without all of their starters and then some. Orlando is without all of their starters and then some. So both of these teams are just loaded. Even though it's a low total, they're just loaded with guys that we're going to want to play. As you can see here, Chetty Osman, Ricky Rubio, all with all kinds of colors beside their name. I think that's all of them here. No, each of them are just missing one. But basically all of these Cleveland guys are in play. On the Orlando side of things, geez, it's just crazy how strong some of these guys are rating out. Bol, Mo Wagner, Jalen Suggs, and then we have the biggest question mark like Cole Anthony, who we thought was going to start and could come off the bench and play 35 minutes and have 50 fantasy points tonight, but he could also maybe just barely play, and he could be one of the guys that's kind of half resting. So difficult situation in this game, but we know we want to get to a lot of it. And then the other one I'm mainly targeting is OKC and Utah. Fast pace, not a lot of defense going to be played in this one. And like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be on basically every team I'm playing today. I'm running out 20 lineups and I got him on 19 of them right now. So OKC and Utah is going to be the priority. OKC has to win. They're in the last spot of the playoffs right now. They control their own destiny, so they need to win. And then on the Utah side of things, they don't care, but they're without a lot of guys. And so the Taylor Horton-Tuckers, the Kelly Oleniks of the world, and then they have some ancillary pieces as well, are looking very, very juicy. We also have Jokic out. We have Jamal Murray out. There's a lot. So if we look at Noto's core plays here in the backcourt, we got Ricky Rubio, we got Jalen Suggs, and we have SGA. I agree with every single one of these for cash. And then in the front court, we have Chetty Osman. Mm-hmm. Every single one of these is going to be a must play for cash games today. I agree with them 100%.
So Can I cut in real fast? We got a question that says best play from Orlando. Should I assume that for cash, that would make it your boy Suggs as he is tagged, and you agree with it?
Yeah, I think you're likely playing multiple Orlando players regardless, but Suggs would probably be the first one that I'm plugging in there just because like Wagner's probably going to have a good game. Bull's probably going to have a good game, but it might be Goga Bitadze, but it might be Admiral Schofield. They got a few different, they might be Chuma Okeke, so they got a few different things they can do with it. So Suggs is definitely the first one you're plopping in.
Excellent. Back to your grind. Sorry to interrupt there.
No problem whatsoever. So this last guard position, there's a few ways you can go with it. Bruce Brown is projecting very well and is likely going to be in your cash game lineup either at the shooting guard position or small forward position with no Jamal Murray, no Nikola Jokic. But I do somewhat worry that I kind of view him similar to Rubio. It's like these two teams, they have nothing to play for, but both of these guys, they're in the rotation. They're good plays and they project really well, but they're going to be in the rotation in the playoffs. So I don't know how hard they're going to push those guys today. But there's still people that like, that's something you're considering in tournaments, but in a cash setting, you're definitely still rolling with Rubio and then probably Bruce Brown as well. Taylor Horton-Tucker is likely the other guy that I'm considering here. And so we have one small forward and one shooting guard position left. Those are the two guys that I'm likely rooting for here. Sharp is somebody that's potentially interesting if he plays. And then if he's out, I think Skylar Mays is somebody that you could pivot to and potentially play as well. But that's, I think, more of a cash and more of a tournament thing that Dre can touch on as well. And then one other guy for tournaments that I absolutely love is Jalen Williams with an E. Like we said, OKC has to win this game. And so I'm playing a lot of their studs today, SGA and Jalen Williams, and he's somebody that I really like. Moving on to power forward and center, a lot of these guys have dual eligibility, but I honestly think you're in a cash setting. You're probably wanting to play Mo Wagner and you're probably wanting to play Bol. Now, this is leaving us with just a obscene amount of salary left on the table. And so if you're playing salary savings all throughout your lineup and you don't really know where to roll with it, like if you find if somebody like Aaron Gordon plays and he lands in your lineup, I think that's okay. But if you want to go to Joel Embiid, just because you have so much salary and you don't know what to do with it, there's no problem with that whatsoever. If you want to get to Embiid tonight, yeah, he's probably not going to be ran out for 38 minutes, but we were talking about a little bit about this in the transition. Philly doesn't want to see Miami in round 1 of the playoffs. They want to beat these guys. And so I think they're still going to be playing like they should. They're maybe not going to run their starters out crazy minutes, but they're still going to be playing a strong game. Last guy I'm probably looking at in like the power forward or center spot in a cash game setting is going to be Kelly Olynyk today as a run back for those OKC players we're looking at playing.
Sheldon Sharp just got ruled out.
Shaedon Sharp just got ruled out, so that means Skylar Mays is now in play. Let's look at Shaq Harrison's price, see if he is relevant on FanDuel. 4.8K. If you land on that as a last piece, I think that's fine, but I don't think that's going to be one of my main priorities. Having said that, if you make a pivot to somebody like a Shaq Harrison off of Rubio in tournaments, I think that's a very interesting tournament strategy.
Okay, very good. TJ, anything else? Did you get through center? I'm sorry, I kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, you already had that. Yeah. Okay, very good. Okay, let's switch it over. Talk a little tournament thoughts here. We'll bring in Dre. Dre, what is your game plan? Is it kind of the same as the cash plan, or are you making pivots here?
All right. So I like what TJ touched on in cash. But I know everyone's going to play Rubio. So me personally, as I mentioned before, I'm not playing Rubio at all today. Like that's expert, and he's not even in my player pool. I just think it doesn't make sense for him to be in to play a lot of minutes because he's a part of the rotation.
Yeah.
He hasn't been playing a lot of minutes lately either. So there's no incentive for him to play more. So I will not have him at all. I like going to guys though in this in certain games. Orlando game is a little bit tricky. The Orlando Cleveland game is a little bit tricky for me. Everyone being out makes me obviously love Jalen Suggs, but Suggs can obviously fill in this spot too, and so can Cole Anthony can as well. And they also have Michael Carter Williams there too. So that's another guy you have to think about all these things. That how many minutes is Michael Carter Williams going to play? Because that could impact Suggs and Cole Anthony. So I'm just hoping that it doesn't affect them that much. But Suggs, they both are perfectly fine for tournaments or cash. I just probably would lean more towards probably going with Cole Anthony as opposed to Jalen Suggs. But it's just kind of tough to try to figure out what you want to do with that guard position for Orlando. Cleveland side, I can't get behind playing honestly much of anybody. From them, like I understand the usage has to go somewhere besides Cedi Osman or Jetty Osman, whatever you want to call him. That's the only guy I can see myself playing from Cleveland. I think that he is a fantastic play. He could be a staple in tournaments to a core play in tournaments, I would say, to use today. This Miami game is obviously important. So I'm trying to bring it down more so game by game. But Miami, this game is more important. I just don't know how. I'm really worried about the the Philadelphia side of that game. You have to, like I said, end of the season, you got to think about these things. Philadelphia already is locked into number 3 seed. How long is Doc Rivers going to keep these guys out there? That's the thing you have to think about. You're going to be spending up on James Harden, spending up on Joel Embiid, but how long are they going to play? How many minutes are they going to play the first half, the second half? We understand they want to beat them, but they're already locked into their position. And like everyone has said, it's this far stretch for Miami to get to the 6th seed because they have to win out and hope that the Brooklyn Nets lose on top of that. So I like a guy still like going towards Miami side with a guy like Jimmy Butler here in this spot, or Tyler Hero. I think those are great tournament plays that are not getting enough ownership as they should be, honestly, in my opinion. So those are the guys that I would honestly try to roster more of today. If I'm playing on a site like FanDuel, I think they're just excellent plays. And then when you get to this Portland, San Antonio, that's honestly one of my favorite game environments because we already know both teams are out of the playoffs. They have nothing. They're just playing their young guys. You know who they're playing, and what the rotation is pretty much going to be. With Sharp being out now, we know Skylar Mays becomes an excellent play now. So to me, he's one of the players you probably have to get in more so in your lineup, more of a priority. I do like Trey Jones on the other side because just seeing the amount of minutes that he's still getting, even with their being completely out of the playoffs, makes a lot more sense. It makes sense, and he has upside for 50 fantasy points in this game. So I can see that happening here. So he's someone I definitely think you can target and use in your in your tournaments lineups today. I mentioned Skylar Mays. I also do like I do like Collins a lot, but Collins kind of just scares me just because the minutes. Greg Popovich plays around with the minutes too much. I know he sometimes does get like 27 minutes, 30 minutes, but the one time when he played, like you said, like TJ has it up there, he had Sacramento when he played only 23 minutes. If he plays 30 minutes, he is smashing his price. He's blown it out of the water. It's just more so, is that going to happen? So I think he makes a great tournament play for that specific reason only, and I would play him for that reason. Base up is also obviously fine as well. Then you're going to move on to the OKC Utah game. Just that lock button that we have here, just give it to Shy. He's the best player on the slate. Every time he's played Utah, he's had at least 60 fantasy points. It's still going to be a competitive game, even without Utah being fully healthy. So I like Shy here in this spot. I think he is the best play on the slate. The top number one's the first person you should get into your lineups and just build around it. To me, just play him. I don't mind Josh Giddey in tournaments. I don't mind Jalen Williams in tournaments. Those are all Jalen Williams with an E in tournaments. Those are the only guys I would want to play from from there. On the other side, I think you got to run it back with Taylor Horton-Tucker. To me, game stacks are important too in this. So I'd like Taylor Horton-Tucker on the run back. The guy from Kansas, I can't pronounce his name. Achaboki, I believe his name is, but I think
Abaji.
Abaji, yes. He is a good play, is a good tournament play, so I don't mind that. Or Kelly Olynyk. Those are the guys I definitely like getting there for sure. And the Denver Phoenix game is tough, really, to take anybody from there. Denver's locked into their position. Phoenix is not, but they win. I think than they are. So I think they can come out hard. Yeah, I would say play those guys normally because they still have to win. So this could still be a competitive game. It's the NBA. These guys are professionals. So I would still play Chris Paul, still play Devin Booker, still play Kevin Durant and DeAndre Ayton if you want. I'm not running it back with anyone from Denver. If anyone, would probably maybe Bruce Brown, and that's about it. Unless we get news set up, because I don't think that the rest of the stars are playing. But if they are playing, then I would obviously target a guy like MPJ or Aaron Gordon for sure. But I don't think that they are going to be playing today. So Bruce Brown will be the only guy I would see myself playing from Denver here in this situation. But my game stacks that I really do like targeting here on this slate is OKC, Utah, Portland, San Antonio, and that's pretty much it. Little bit of and just mixing in a little bit of pieces, maybe 1v1s on Miami, Philadelphia, or Denver, Phoenix.
Okay, very, very good. Got a little cash talk, got a little GPP talk. Let's kick it on over to DK. Got a question from Phil, and I will throw this over to Dre. What are your thoughts on playing Neto as leverage off of Rubio?
That's fine because Neto's not really a part of the rotation, so he can play as many minutes as he wants. So I don't mind that at all.
Okay, very good. TJ, let's kind of walk through a little DK cash. Still plenty of time until lock, but tell me what you've got and tell me what you like.
Absolutely. In terms of like doing a tournament full fade on a guy like Ricky Rubio, I think that if you're doing a single entry lineup, you can fade anybody. If you're running 150 lineups, I think you could fully do that in tournaments on FanDuel, fade Rubio. I don't know if you want to do that on DraftKings, because even if he plays 18 minutes today, he could have 30 fantasy points, and he's got at that 3.1K price tag.
Oh yeah, that's cheap.
It's just even if he fails, it's just fine. You know what I mean? So it's like, and so while other guys could do better, and you can get underweight to him, and you could definitely fade him in a single entry type thing, I'd be wary of doing it kind of here. But I agree with Noto's core plays here. We got Rubio, we got SGA, we got Jalen Suggs, Chetty Osman, and Mo Wagner. Every single one of those guys is basically a must play today. And what does that leave us with? Almost $9,000 per position. And so I don't even think I'm going to be, I'm not going to do the position by position thing. I'm just going to rank my favorite spends as to how I'd want to kind of go about the rest of my lineup here. Because looking at this, I agree with all of them. I think they are basically musts. The next two players that I'm like looking to get in my lineup the most today, for me, are going to be two of the three of Jalen Williams, Kelly Olynyk. As you can see, I bumped Jalen Williams's projection up just so I can get extra of him today. We even projected for 35. I bumped him up to 40 just because I want to get a lot of them. I'm choosing between Olynyk, Jalen Williams, and Talen Horton-Tucker. Of those three guys, they're basically the ones I get to. If we plug in Olynyk and Jalen Williams, it leaves us 12-3 per position, and we can get Joel Embiid in there. If we do somebody like a Talen Horton-Tucker instead, it leaves us with 11-2. It means you can't get Embiid, and you can just adjust slightly elsewhere somewhere. That's kind of how I want to go about things. If you don't want to play, if you want to think, hey, I believe Joel Embiid's only going to play the first half today, I don't want to do that. Then there's still the option to play a guy like Mo Wagner at the center position, so that you can use some salary elsewhere. At the power forward. We've
got some big news.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. Jazz have just downgraded THT to questionable for tonight's game. That late downgrade is always fairly worrisome. And I believe this is a spot that they don't care about winning, right? Is that true?
Yes, that is. And so this would make somebody like Chris Dunn a must play, and Kelly Olynyk is one of the next guys that you want to put in your lineup. So if you want to leave some salary on the table, that allows you to you go to Embiid and you can do something like that. But additionally, now fading somebody like a Ricky Rubio, if I know obviously Rubio's game is first, but using that point guard position with somebody like a Chris Dunn, that is a way that you could use more of your salary as well. So those 3K fades, if you want to fade one of the three of like a Rubio, Osman, Wagner, I think you can now.
Interesting. Okay. TJ, I kind of cut you off there with that breaking news. Was there anything you wanted to add before we get back to it with tournaments?
No, that's basically it. Like, I think you want to make sure you get a couple of Cleveland players, couple of Orlando players. Suggs and Wagner, I agree, are the two that I want to put in there. But if you have some super strong feel that Bol is going to be better than Mo Wagner, all the power to you. Both of those plays are totally fine today. So Cleveland and Orlando are where you're looking to get value. Your number one spend up that should basically be in every lineup, and definitely a cash game lineup, is SGA. And then the next places you're looking to are OKC, the Utah guys that play, and then maybe just somebody for raw points like a Joel Embiid.
Okay, very good. Dre, I pass the baton to you, and I guess let's start with what just changed here with THT being questionable. Do you have him, like, do you want him if he's in? Do you want him in your shell so you can pivot away? Like, how are you handling that?
He was someone I was actually like really. He was a part of my he was part of my builds heavy today because I do like THT a lot. He's been playing well lately.
Is there a direct pivot off of him where you can be like, oh, never mind, if he's out, we can just put in Kelly O, or is there some sort of 1-to-1?
See, the thing was, I was running a mini game stack here, so I was running like a 3-1 or a 2-1 here with Kelly O as one of the guys and Talen Horton-Tucker. So Kelly O, I'm not worried about. I'm trying to figure out if I want Archie in there, or do I want Chris Dunn? Like, that's the thing. I think that's really the most important thing. Chris Dunn, they still have not let him off the leash with minutes wise, which is kind of concerning. Even with them, everyone being out, he hasn't played like 30 minutes.
If THT doesn't play, it's done. It's done.
You think he has to play it? I think he has to play a lot of minutes. I just want to see it. That's a problem. I'm gonna lean probably more Dunn just because he's gonna be the primary ball handler, and that's what THT was. So I definitely am gonna go with Dunn here, side with him, and that's why I like kind of fading the early game, the Cleveland Orlando game a little bit, and just locking and just waiting for the more news. It could totally bite me in the butt just because that game is nothing but backups, and it's gonna be fast and up tempo. It could be the winning line and have all the nuts in it to win it all. But I'm willing to take that risk because there's so much other guys out there that I think are better players that can offer more upside just for their situation and amount of people that they have playing.
Okay, makes sense. Anything else you want to go through on DK that's maybe a little different?
Actually, everything was pretty much the same. Like I just really been attacking it the same kind of way on both sides today. It's just more so where do I want to plant my flag? Like I know everyone want to play like Joel Embiid. Like I said before, I'm not a big fan of it today. Miami Heat has just played them well. Like they just played I don't know why. Coach Spoelstra just can play the Philadelphia 76ers really well. Joel Embiid has had maybe one or two big games against them. James Harden's the one who really has to get going here. So, but that man can disappear, and we don't know what can happen. So, I'd rather plant my flag with, like I said, a Devin Booker if I was spending a poor second superstar on this slate as opposed to a Joel Embiid or a James Harden. I'm not even high on even Kevin Durant, but I do love Jimmy a lot at 8.8K. I think that's just too low of a salary for him in this must-win game for them.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that because that was going to be my next question is if you're not spending up for Embiid and we've got all this value, I know you love SGA, but then your next spends or maybe look somewhere in Phoenix or maybe to Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, but like my build right now, just to be completely like kind of honest, it's like more of a mid-range build. Like I don't really I have maybe one guy in the 3K range, and I'm trying to figure out if that's a mistake because it's just I understand that they're gonna have the upside for 30 or more fantasy points, but I really just really like these other guys and think that those game environments are more suitable and can produce a lot more upside.
Gotcha. TJ, is this a night where you can leave a comical amount of salary on the table? Like, let's say Embiid doesn't get there. The big spend up that makes it is SGA. If these 3K guys go off and score 40 points, like, can this be a ridiculous amount of money left and you can still take it home? Or is there enough money to spend and enough players to go around?
I still think there's enough players to go around. But leaving max of a 2,000 to 3,000, I don't think is unreasonable at all.
See, that's what I meant when I said crazy.
Yeah, like I don't mean like don't do like 4,000 or 5,000, but I'm looking at a lineup right now that has $1,400 left on the table, and I really don't know what I'd change about it.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. All right. Very good. We've got about 15 minutes here until lock. We will dive into some of these QQs. Go ahead. Throw them into the Discord as well as the YouTube chat. Make sure you hit that thumbs up as well for this fantastic free content. Speaking of money on the table, first question is from NBA DFS TJ on Fanduel. I've got $1,100 left in cash. Would you prefer, to go from THT to KD or Mays to Hero, or just leave it as it is? At this point, the answer is likely THT to KD, unless there's some sort of flexibility.
Yeah, you leave it as it is right now so that you can pivot to KD if THT is ruled out.
Okay, very good.
And with him being questionable anyways, I'd borderline consider just doing the KD route even if he plays.
But how important do these other guys become on the Jazz? Like, TJ, for you, are they getting in the build? Like Dunn and who was the other one? Was it Kelly O?
Yeah, Dunn and Kelly O would be the two biggest priorities by far.
Okay. Are they in your cash build priorities? Like assuming THT is out, are those guys going to make the build?
Yes, I think so. Honestly, the only reason they wouldn't is just like if I have this salary and I can get up to Jimmy Butler, do that instead of Kelly Olynyk.
And that makes sense. Dre, you said the Heat need to win this game, right? Or at least they have a outside shot of getting out of the play-in. So Jimmy Butler could play 40 minutes, right?
Yeah, so that's why to me he's a lock and load. Like he's one of the guys I think you need to play today because he's going to give a max effort. And he used to play. You have to remember he used to play for Philly.
Yeah,
and he wanted to stay in Philly, but they didn't give him. They didn't want to pay him. They paid Ben Simmons. So what do you think he's going to do to these guys every single chance he gets?
Yeah, I mean max effort, and he might get max minutes. That's a good combination. And he seems like a vengeful dude for what it's worth.
Oh yeah, he is very vengeful.
Was it Jimmy Butler who had the story where he was playing with the backups and he was just crushing the starters, and he was yelling at the coach and the GM? I'm pretty sure
because he wanted to get out and go to Minnesota. Yeah, because Carl and Towns were not playing hard enough. Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember if that was a situation, but I'm pretty sure that was a thing that happened. All right. Anyways, let's dive into more QQs. DKGPP, Dre, this is for you. Dort, Bates, Diop, or Porter Jr.?
I'm gonna give you an order because first Dort's last. Porter Jr. is going to be first if he plays, and if not, then Bates Diop is next.
Very good.
I agree with Porter Jr. first if he plays, but Dort is my first option there.
I'm not with SGA and Jalen. Dort does not play that well with SGA and Jalen Williams and Giddey all together.
Okay,
better than Keita Bates Diop.
At the salaries, we could sign to the DMs offline and make a bet.
We got side.
I'm taking Dort over Keita Bates Diop 100 times out of 100.
Well, fantasy points wise, but we're for the style dollar wise.
But that was just like last piece.
It was
like you got to go raw points.
I guess, but if like one guy's $3K cheaper, then you're assuming you're moving up somewhere else. I guess.
That on this slate, I don't think you can assume that though.
Well, that's possible. On this slate, it is. Yeah, this slate may be the exception to the rule.
Context if you want to try to move up off of Bates Diop, then.
Yeah. All right. Bruce says, "Hey, no Jimmy Butler love. Does Miami not have anything to play?" No, there is Jimmy Butler love. I think he typed that like just as we were getting into that. There is Jimmy Butler love for sure.
Also, Bates Diop on DraftKings is $5,300, and Dort is only $58, so it's only a $500 difference.
Oh, all right.
Okay. X out Bates Diop. Don't play him.
There you go. Okay, Mike says Fanduel GPP game theory. I'm not playing anyone in Denver, Phoenix, and Miami, Philly. Is that a good strategy?
It's not a bad strategy. You can do that and possibly get away with it. That's completely fine. As long as to me on these type of slates at the end of the season, it's about the right game stack. Whatever you surround the random guys you have that go off, you have to have a right game stack.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's like I said, a 3-2, a 3-1, a 2-2. It's just something that's a right game stack around those guys, and you'll be fine. Just hopefully, it's the right game that blows up.
Gotcha. All right. This is a FanDuel cash question, TJ. Do you want Manute Bol Jr. or Wagner in FanDuel cash?
Manute Bol. Wagner.
Okay. All right. That was Bol. I was just being creative because we have time to kill.
Worries.
Yeah. FanDuel GPP, Hero or Porter? Michael Porter.
I think it's still Hero for me, but I mean, if Porter plays, it's kind of tempting because he might just go out there and play 32 minutes and jack 30 shots in that time. But I think I'd still probably go Hero, and we might not know that news before the Miami game starts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, a few names that we haven't talked about, so I'm excited to bring in some of these. Hoosiers Hang Banner says, do we have a lean on big body Keldon Johnson?
Not in my pool.
I have no idea. Like, even if he was playing, granted, he could have a 50-point fantasy point game here. I don't have any idea if he's playing or not. I would assume he's not. So I would say no.
Yeah, and if he plays, like, he could get the rug pulled out from under him minutes wise. Like, right? You just don't really.
He can still play because it doesn't matter at this point. They already are out of the playoffs.
Gotcha. All right.
In the season.
Phil says, is Zhang at all viable now? I don't know what news this was in reference to, but it was as news was breaking.
THT and no.
Okay, THT and no. No Zhang for you, Dre, either?
No. I'm actually running a court IQ right now. I'm just trying to eliminate all the guys off the court that got traded so I could see what actually is the usage for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But
all right.
No.
Do you, Candace says, think that DeAndre Jordan gets any minutes?
No. He can get as many minutes as he wants. It's still a no.
Okay. Okay, that's a hard no from
I
both.
have Thomas Bryant on one team.
Yeah,
Thomas, and I'll take him out if he starts. But Thomas Bryant has the ability to play 26 minutes and be better than this Orlando value at the center position.
Okay, very good. Nathan says, hey, who's the best guy to put in center in cash? Didn't specify a site, which makes it quite difficult. But TJ, I suppose I will let you answer for both. Your favorite cash play at center?
On FanDuel, it's either, for me, all the way down to Bull or all the way up to Embiid, most likely, just kind of depending on where I want to go for value. Mm-hmm. And then on DraftKings, it's either going to be Wagner or Embiid, most likely. So it's just like you're going all the way up or all the way down.
Yeah. I'm getting a lot of questions about Wagner versus Bull. So the question, like this question specifically, is FanDuel GPPs, who's a better overall play, Wagner or Bull? Could Goga steal some time from Bull?
Goga's probably more likely to steal time from Wagner than he is Bull, because Bull's starting at the 3 today.
That's amazing. He's starting at the 3.
Yeah.
How tall is that team? Like, what lineup are they running out right now? That's fantastic.
He have a good game. That's a risky fade, but yeah. You said the question was Zhang before, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. He gets the highest usage bump, but I still think you have to play Archie Kelly and Chris Dunn over him.
Yeah. All right. Tio says Shaq Harrison over Neto on DK. Am I crazy for that?
I don't think so.
No, you're not.
All right. Bruce says util spot, Giddey or KD, last man in. I feel like Giddey's a really good play. This is a Giddey might get 40 minutes, but I will let the experts answer.
I do think I like Giddey there. If I had a player like Bruce Brown already in my lineup, then I would go KD. But if not, I think I'd probably do Giddey.
Yeah, and I guess this is last man in. So, like, are we doing something with the money or not? Because I was imagining Giddey is much cheaper than KD, but I don't really know.
He is $800 or $700 cheaper on DraftKings. So
that's it. That's crazy. That's crazy. What was that, Dre?
At the end of the season salaries, man.
Yeah. Is Zach Collins a GPP play on DK?
I like him a lot. I just don't know what to do with him.
Okay.
I really don't. Like, the minutes is what concerns me.
So I want to go back to the Giddey versus KD. It's kind of based on not just preference, but I think Giddey has a higher ceiling and KD has a higher floor. Like, KD is going to play 30-ish minutes and probably have 40 to 45 fantasy points. Mm-hmm. Giddey might only have 30 or 35, but he could also have 60.
Okay. That's just weird to me. We're talking about KD and someone else has the higher ceiling. I mean, it's freaking KD.
It's just game that doesn't matter for seeding whatsoever versus a must-win game for OKC.
Yeah, I get it. Let's see. FanDuel GPP. Oh, can you pair Giddey and SGA in a DK GPP? Can you play them both?
Yes.
Yeah. I assume you're probably running that back if you're doing so, Dre, if you got Giddey and SGA.
Yep, definitely running it back.
Yep. FanDuel GPP, I'm playing 2 Cleveland dudes, but I'm fading the Magic. Is this a sound strategy or a suck strategy?
The way I'm building today, honestly, you might have to play one Magic dude, and I think Bolo might be that guy. Okay. He's too cheap, and if he gets 20 minutes, he can have like 25, 30 fantasy points. That's all good.
FanDuel Cash, play Rubio or wait for Dunn? TJ, it's a good question for Cash. These are 2 good plays, but we don't know that Dunn will be a good play because THT might play.
On which site, sorry?
This was FanDuel Cash.
On FanDuel, I honestly would probably leave him out of my lineup at this point. On DraftKings, where he's 31, Rubio. On DraftKings, where he's 41, where he's 3,100, I still think you have to play him. But on FanDuel, again, I kind of feel like you're crazy for playing cash at this point in the season because nothing is safe. But my gut is telling me that Rubio's only going to play like 20 to 22 minutes. And if that's the case and Horton Tucker's out, like Dunn might double the amount of points he has.
Yeah.
All right, question.
Yep.
Last piece, 5,700 on FanDuel. I mean, on DraftKings.
In the util?
Yeah.
That is the question, isn't it? And I'm assuming you already have Chris Dunn?
Yeah.
I'd go Cole Anthony. Do you have Joel's? If you don't have Suggs, I would go Cole Anthony. That's both. The way I've been building.
That's like, I don't want to go Cole, but I might have to. Oh.
If you do have Suggs in there, honestly, the guy I would go with because it's a tournament ceiling and nobody else is going to be playing him is Kevin Knox.
I got Skylar Mays though. I like Skylar Mays more. Actually, but Knox's salary is going up too.
Okay. A few more questions.
I honestly don't. This is really relevant because as I'm like building around and trying to get Taylor Horton Tucker out of some lineups, that is something that I'm noticing a lot of is like, all right, I have mid 5K left and I have already done in my lineup. I can't quite afford Mays or I already have Mays in my lineup. Mm-hmm. Where am I going here? And that's, I honestly think, kind of a position where you can just take some shots in tournaments, whether it's Kevin Knox or whoever.
Okay. A few more questions. What are we thinking about Trey Jones, especially if Keldon ends up sitting?
I love Trey Jones today. He's going to be low owned now, definitely, because we're going to be waiting on this THT news. So I would play him.
Very good. Tio says in DK Butler or Giddey in the last spot. By the way, less than a minute until lock.
Butler or Giddey?
Butler.
I agree.
Both great plays for what it's worth. Do you like SGA tonight? No, we freaking love SGA tonight.
Lock button.
Lock button. We don't like him. We freaking love him. FanDuel GPP, Giddey or the good Jay Williams?
That's tough. They both are really good. They both do different things really well. Mm-hmm. I'm going to probably side Jalen Williams there.
Okay, that's fair. Hey, guys, with that, we are coming up on the lock. Make sure if you're watching this, you hit that thumbs up. You're probably thinking, holy smokes, that show is free. That's incredible. That's not even right. All we ask for is that you hit that little like button for us. With that, give one last check to make sure nothing new came in. Yep. We have given all the content. We have answered all the questions, and we are going to bounce on out of here. So for TJ, for Dre, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love it. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.